All right, welcome everybody to Temporarily Obsessed. I am Walking Keys, and this is the channel for those that are always curious. And I have a very special guest tonight for episode 4. We have Miss Kaye St. Clair. What's up, Kay? How are
That's
you?
me. Hello. It is great to be here. I'm so excited to be on the channel today.
It's awesome. I'm excited to have you. I met you a few years ago when we worked together, and instantly I thought you were one of the most interesting people because you rattled off your work history, and I was dumbfounded at some of the stuff on your resume. And I've been dying to talk to you about it ever since. And so yeah, I'm excited you're here. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Absolutely, and happy to share. Let's get to it. Let's ask the questions. What do the people want to hear?
What do the people want to hear? We are first of all, we want to thank everybody for tuning in live. And big shout out to the After Dark Fest down in ATL. They're hanging out like 7 of my channel like viewers are all in one place, so we'll probably only get one view from all of them, but that's all right. Happy they're here. Well, Kay, thank you for being here. I want to jump into it and talk about one thing that's really always interested in me was like reality TV and these competition shows. And you were on The Weakest Link, right?
I
Yeah.
was on the weakest link, and I actually got second place. I got second place on the weakest link, and it's so funny because I didn't even tune in to watch it because we have no idea when the show's going to be released. I was in bed. I had just gotten into bed maybe 10 minutes earlier, about to fall asleep, and all of a sudden my phone starts blowing up with people like, "Oh my God, the weakest link, you're on TV. What's happening?" And I'm like, "Oh, is it airing right now?" And they're like, "Yeah." And to this day, Chris, I still have not watched the episode. I've never watched it.
What?
Yeah, I have not watched the episode, not even once since it aired. I feel like I've seen the whole thing based on everybody like tagging me in their Instagram stories.
Right.
And like that's how I've watched the show. But I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to relive this, so I've just actually never watched it.
That's hilarious. That's kind of like how I've viewed Suits. I feel like I've seen all of Suits, but I've only watched like Instagram clips.
Right.
So,
Right, yeah.
so that's you. So you've never watched the episode where you came in
No.
second place.
Never watched
Oh,
it, but you know what? It's funny from the clips that I have seen, I feel like so many people were seeing the show as they thought it happened, but there were so many other scenes that actually didn't get shown or weren't
right.
published to the public, like certain questions, especially in that last round, because I did lose by one question, but me and the guy that won were neck and neck for the longest time. And it was like maybe 10 questions they had to go through, which ultimately ended up me losing, obviously. But I actually didn't get to see the questions that I was actually really upset about him missing because I knew the answers to them.
Oh
So,
no.
yeah, so they actually didn't show everything, but that's okay. It's all right. People still get to see my face on the TV. So,
There you go.
yeah,
There's
there you go.
I mean, what's really interesting is how did you get on the show? Like how did you what was the
Yeah.
process? I'm
That's
like what was
a great question. It was super random. So I think it was still 2020, and I was living in Carmel Valley, California. I was living really in like this really small part of Carmel Valley, and someone just messaged me, like they DM'd me on Instagram and said, "Hey, you seem really interesting. We'd love to like see how you do on Weakest Link, you know?" And I'm like, "Oh, I know Weakest Link." And they're like, "Well, we're rebranding it. It's a new host, it's new this, it's new that." So I actually had to go through a whole casting process, which was like maybe 2 or 3 interviews with like casting producers. They had to figure out what I was interested in, what I wasn't interested in, what I had knowledge in. I had to do like a pre-test for it. And so doing all of that was actually how I got on it. But it really initially started with an Instagram DM.
That's awesome. So I mean, initially you had to have thought like someone's just trying to
Yeah.
like would
Yeah.
I mean, but you follow it was
Yeah.
real. That's interesting.
Yeah, and of course, I'm like, well, I want to see how smart I am compared to all these people.
Yeah.
So,
And
I want to see what kind of knowledge I've got.
that's awesome. And did from that experience, do you still like have you like auditioned for other ones or do you
Yeah,
check your Instagram TMs more frequently now?
you know what? I have auditioned for another one. I was actually on another one, which I don't know if I'm allowed to say which one it is because I actually don't know if it's aired. I might not ever watch that one either. Who knows? But I did audition for another one and film it earlier this summer. And that one was also very similar. I actually got to have a teammate on that one, which was great. But that one I got actually because one of my friends is a casting producer. So I'm originally born and raised in Los Angeles, and they were looking for people. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love game shows. Like, let me do it. So that's how I ended up getting on that one. So it wasn't an Instagram DM, but it was actually me DMing my friend saying, hi, if you're looking for someone, I'm your girl.
Just to let you know, I'd be interested. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And
Yeah.
it's good to have friends that are casting directors.
That and any chance to like win a little bit of extra money, like who's gonna say no to that, you know?
I mean, why not, right? And I mean, for me, it seems like it'd be just so much fun just to escape. Not that I'm trying to escape life, but if I had an opportunity to go on a show, like it'd be fun just to compete in that little isolated world for a little while.
Oh,
And
for sure. Yeah, it is a lot of fun. It's very different. It's very different from what people expect when you walk into going on like a game show set, and the
yeah,
way that even like the audience is structured or the way that you're answering the questions and how meticulous it actually has to be when you're in those situations actually does go kind of a long way in terms of like what you think it's going to be like and what it's actually like. So it is very interesting, but it's a lot of fun. And I'm down to do any game shows all the time. I love game shows. I'm ready to do that as my like calling in life, even if I get second place every time. Yeah.
I mean, that would be a pretty cool little side hustle, just doing
Yeah.
all those or full-time hustle. So, what are your favorite game shows? So,
Ooh,
if
that's
you
a
could be on like three game shows that you could pick, what would they be?
great question. I feel like Wheel of Fortune for sure. I feel like I'd be really good. I
Classic.
mean, I'm really good at yeah, and I'm really good at Wheel of Fortune like in the game on my cell phone. So like I feel like I could just be good in real life. Aside from
Fair enough.
actually physically have to spin the wheel, I feel like I'd be like spinning that wheel and hitting the wrong things every time. But there's just a chance. Price is Right, also a classic, but I'd love to be on Price is Right. I think that though I don't know the prices, I would walk into grocery stores like the week before just to get all of the like real-time prices on everything to know if I need to go 1 cent over whoever that guy was. You always go that they say
Yep.
$29 and you're saying 29.01. Like I'd want to be that 29.01 just to
Yeah,
know
you
that.
don't want to be the guy one step under.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like, take it.
And third, I feel like if I could get a good group together, Family Feud. And
Ooh.
honestly, with Family Feud, I feel like I'd rather bring people that, no offense to my family if you're watching, but like I'd rather be on Family Feud with people that weren't my family. Like it's like, well, they're friends that feel like family, so maybe we
Right.
can do that.
Like a coworkers team or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Coworkers team on Family Feud would be amazing.
Or like Weakest Link reunion show.
Yeah, I actually told them when I left, I was like, "Hey, if you have a redemption tour, like I'm in. I'm ready to go.
I'm
I'm ready to go on a redemption
I'm
tour."
number one on your runner-up list.
Yeah, exactly that.
I tell you, my family, we have like a secret obsession with Survivor. And so we don't
Oh,
we don't watch it whatever's live. We go back and watch old seasons. I mean, heck, there's 45 of them. But I
yeah.
really like would secretly love to be on Survivor.
Big Brother too. I mean, Big Brother is a really good one that I love that I'm obsessed with watching, but
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if I could be that shady.
Yeah.
I don't feel like if I could undercut people that well, but I'd love to probably do something like Big Brother. Or I don't know if you've seen Alone. Have you watched Alone? That's
I
kind
have
of
I've
yeah.
seen some of it, yeah.
Alone is
And
insane. That show is absolutely insane. And I could never do it because I do not have those types of instinctual survival skills. But
right.
I'd love to do Alone just for the pure fact of doing it and seeing like really how long till I die here. How long till they gotta pull me out and I'm about to die.
Shoot the flare or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have you seen The Circle on Netflix?
I have it's on my list,
I
on my
love
next.
that one for some reason. I think it's fun.
I gotta check that one
Uh,
out. No, it's on my list though, for sure.
we have a couple of questions we're going to jump into real quick. Are you a big Disney fan?
I am a huge Disney. Oh, this way. Obviously,
Yep.
you see the ears. I'm a huge Disney fan. I was a season pass holder for probably like 6 years before COVID happened and they got rid of them. And then the first year they got them again, I got another Disney pass, but then moved and was in a different state, but I kept the Disney pass just in case because I'm like, if I ever
Just
go
in
back,
case.
I need to just get right in. So yes, a huge Disney fan. I actually have a custom painting of Ariel in a Chiefs jersey because I'm also a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I'm a huge Chiefs fan. Been a Chiefs fan my whole life. It's not because of the whole Swifty Travis Kelsey thing. I've been a Chiefs fan my entire life. It's a family team, and I have a custom painting of Ariel in a Chiefs jersey hanging on my vanity on the other side of the room.
That's awesome. I'm uh I'm I'm a big fan of several Disney projects. I actually got engaged at Disneyland or Disney World.
Amazing. That's awesome. I mean, and you have
Yeah.
your whole Marvel background and everything, start like your Marvel Star Wars
Star
background.
Wars, yeah.
Like,
They didn't start out as Disney, but they
they
are
didn't
now.
start as a yeah, but that's all right. I mean, they ended up there. It's there
They're
now.
we'll all end up there one way or another, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're taking up Disney's taking over everybody.
And of all the companies to take over, I think there's worse ones, to be honest.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
You
you get the most budget with Disney, so how could you not, right?
know.
Like you get the
And they're
most budget
pretty
to do
efficient
whatever you
with their lines. Yeah.
want. I have heard though, I mean, I have heard that at the Disney corporate office that it's really hard to like navigate the place because they name their offices and rooms like really like it's very Disney centric. So it's really hard to get your grasps in for the first like couple days or weeks because you're trying to figure out where all these rooms are, even though they're named correctly and you have a map, it's just really figuring out where all those rooms are because they're named things that are very Disney centric.
Is that where did you say that was at the
At the at
corporate
like
office?
Disney, yeah, like the Disney corporate offices in like Burbank or Glendale or wherever they
Yeah.
have them out there. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. That's pretty cool. All right. So now there's another part of your life that was on your resume, and I'm not going to give too much detail, but you worked for a magician that pretty big name magician that had a Vegas show, and you were like his assistant. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, he still has a Vegas show. Fun fact.
Oh,
I mean, if you want to do your research there, I don't know,
correct.
he's still there.
My bad.
Yeah, he still has a show there. And he is a pretty big name. And yeah, I worked for him as his executive assistant for 2 years. So I was actually in charge of a team of 6 other assistants and served as his main liaison and point of contact for both business and personal items. So I was working for him for about 2 years, and that was a lot of fun, a lot of perks, a lot of stories. And yeah, I mean, it was a great time for sure. And definitely very interesting. And I'm open to any questions you have about that because that was, even though it was only 2 years, it was jam packed full of craziness for 2 years.
Yeah, I mean those Vegas shows are no joke. Like
Yeah.
was it 7 days or 6 days?
7 days a week,
Yeah.
15 shows a week. It was 2 shows a day and 3 shows on Saturday. And then you get the like the holiday week. So like Thanksgiving week and Christmas and New Year's, we'd actually have runs of 3 show days. So we'd have 3 shows a day for like 11 days straight or 3 show days for 5 or 6 days straight. So you're literally in the casino or in the resort or in the casino in the property, from 1 p.m. until midnight, but that doesn't include the time that you're actually working for this person, especially if you're one of the assistants. You got to work for
Yeah.
this person outside of those hours. But in the shows, at least, you were there for that amount of time. And we actually, as assistants, had roles in the show as well. So, like, kind of that background stuff. If you ever go to a magic show, you'll see a lot of people in the background handling the props and handling, some of the lighting or handling this and that. And those people actually probably work for the magician, not for the hotel, because you have to be really trained up on how to do those things so that
Right.
everything runs smoothly, especially when you're in the middle of a show.
That's great. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, I've had jobs where I've had to work 6 days a week, and I would complain. I mean, well, I got to get a new job, and I did. It was too much.
Right.
But working 7 days a week, and then like the amount of that, so I can understand why 2 years. But I also can't even believe you went 2 years. What kind of
Yeah.
life did you have outside of work when that was
I
happening?
mean, there wasn't really much of one, there really wasn't much of a life. I mean, working in the show itself, I can say the people that worked only for the show, they're working all the shows, so their days are very long as well. They're working
Yeah.
very long days. On our 3 show days, they're working, probably 3 p.m. to about 11 p.m., which doesn't seem like a lot, but if you're doing stuff in 3 different shows every day, it gets to be a lot. But for the assistants, we're working before the show starts, after the show ends, and my work hours were actually about 80 hours a week. Um,
Jeez.
80 hours a week minimum. That was on
Yeah.
a good day. I think I went a span of maybe 6 to 8 months where I didn't have a day off because I was working 7 days a week. I was also traveling with this person. So I'd go on family vacations with them. I would go on trips with them. We went to Connecticut for 2 hours one time to like go to look at some things that they wanted to look at in Connecticut, So it
Very
was
eccentric
very,
magician type
yeah,
person.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But it was, I mean, who gets to say they flew in the back of a private jet to go on a 2 hour plane ride or 2 hour visit to Connecticut and then fly back
Yeah.
on a private jet? I always joke, I'm like, I've only flown first class one time in my life, but I've flown private probably about 20.
That's awesome. And I mean, to be honest, and I've had a few limited experiences, not quite to that degree, but when you know you're working too much and you know that there's things being neglected, but the experience is part of like the value you're taking away from that job. So it's not
Oh,
just about
absolutely.
money. It is you're getting to see things and do things that very few people get to see or do. And in your case, literally very few people probably even get to know, what's happening behind the stage of a
What's behind
magician.
the
So
curtain. I mean, really behind the curtain. It really
yeah,
is behind the curtain. So, and that's true. And it was one of those things where like I'm not going to say that the good didn't outweigh the bad or the bad didn't outweigh the good or whatever the case is. It was just one of those things where it does take over your entire life,
yeah,
from start to finish. And you have to kind of be okay with that for as long as you're in the role. And it was one of those things where I really wanted to balance out my personal life, which is why after 2 years I kind of exited. Uh, but other than that, I mean, you get to do really cool things with really cool people and have really cool experiences and have a bunch of amazing stories to tell afterwards. I mean,
yeah.
I remember he tried to hook me up with Leonardo DiCaprio one time, and I declined the invitation. And now I might be kicking myself a little bit for it, but I declined the
Ah,
invitation at the time. Just because, I mean, I was like, I don't want this to be tied to work. I want
yeah,
Leo to want me because he wants me, not because, you asked him to.
because you gave him the magic touch.
Yeah, yeah, 'cause you gave him the magic touch. Yeah, you said the magic
Put it-
words,
yeah,
and all of a sudden
that's
he was
funny.
interested.
I mean, at least I mean that's a good boss. It's not like he's trying to set you up with Seth Rogen or something. I mean,
Well,
he's trying to hook you up.
he was very, very extra interested in my love life, probably because I was with him 80 hours a week. He's like, "So what else are you doing?
Yeah,
What else can we
yeah.
get changed
Like
to?
you need
If you're
something
with
else
me
there.
80 hours a week, what's happening with the other hours?"
That's hilarious. I mean, I mean, I couldn't imagine spending that much time with someone like professionally like that. That's
And
definitely seems tough.
yeah, I mean, and I did everything with this person. I mean, I went grocery shopping for him. I babysat his kids. I went on family vacations with him. I would drive him around everywhere that he needed to go because he didn't drive.
Yeah.
So I'd like go into his house with him every night. I'd pick out his clothes every day. I'd accompany it. I'd accompany him really anywhere that he wanted to go. And a lot of the times after our shows every night, like he'd want to go watch a movie. He pretty much watches every movie that ever comes out, and our shows ended at probably 11:30, and so we'd go watch a midnight showing of something every night. And that was, I mean, it was great. I got to watch a bunch of movies. I watched Guardians of the Galaxy 4 times, the second one. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I watched it 4 times in the theater, and I wasn't mad about it. I was
I
getting
mean,
free nachos, getting free nachos. I just had to sit there and enjoy the
and the
movie.
big soda.
Of
That's
course,
fun.
and the big soda. Can't go
Yeah.
wrong with that.
I mean, that definitely a perk of working.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, I have to say, Vegas is a very unique city in and of itself, where so much can happen. But it sounds like this person could also just kind of disappear and go watch movies and not really get a whole lot of attention.
Oh,
And
yeah.
what do you like Vegas? Is that a city you like?
Vegas, it is like my second home for
Yeah.
sure, without a doubt. I feel so complete in that city. And living there as a local, you actually get to know a lot of the like ins and outs, and you realize it's actually a very small city. If you're within certain groups, everyone kind of knows each other. But the best part about living there, I will say, is the food. Like finding the really, really good food spots and like knowing exactly where to eat. There is one place in Vegas that has the best steaks I've ever had in my entire life. And anyone that I bring to Vegas, I bring them there because a steak on the strip or at one of those fancy places on in one of the casinos or resorts does not cut it. There is and I'll plug it. I don't care. I'm not affiliated in any way, but I'll
Yep.
tell you, Herbs and
Plug
Rye in
away.
Las Vegas. Herbs and Rye is the place to go. And during happy hour, they do half price steaks, and all the steaks come with a side, and it's a shareable side. It is a good size side. And I would get like a filet mignon there with a side of mashed potatoes for 25 bucks. You can't go wrong with that.
You
I mean,
cannot.
their happy hour is like 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. and then 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. But whatever, like make a reservation, plan ahead, and you can get one of those steaks and you'll be good to go. If you're planning on
Uh,
having a crazy weekend there, I wouldn't suggest the 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. because you're probably not going to make it. But that 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. spot is really good for that place.
you all heard it here first. Next time I go to Vegas, I will review the steaks there at happy hour. That
Absolutely.
sounds fun.
You have to. You have to.
And if I'm not mistaken, you're actually moving there sometime soon, potentially, and
I
moving your studios for your YouTube channel. You have a YouTube channel.
I do. I have a YouTube channel. It's called Side Boob Kitchen. Hold on.
Oh,
There we go. Side Boob
that
Kitchen, everybody. It is both a YouTube channel and an actual brand for my company, my seasoning company, which I am rebranding, but we'll get into that later. But I am moving everything over to Vegas because I really just missed it so much. Like I really
yeah.
miss living there and having a life there, and it does feel like a second home to me. I mean, I love LA and I love California. I was born and raised there, but I was made for Vegas. I think I was made for the Vegas busy lifestyle and that like close knit community. A lot of my best friends live there, so it just felt like the right time to make that move. And I'm also changing career paths a little bit, so and going into something that I feel like actually aligns with what I want to do.
Perfect. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, what more can you look at doing? So,
exactly, exactly.
I mean, I thought with your YouTube channel, I was so impressed with. I know your husband does a lot of the video work and stuff, but you all grew insanely fast for a new channel. From my perspective, as a channel, my other
Well,
main
sex
channel,
sells, Chris. Sex sells.
I
So
guess so. I guess that's my biggest problem. But I mean, you all did a good job, and the content you put out has been really solid and great recipes. Is that something you want to continue? Like, do you like doing that? I mean, it seems like you have a lot of fun.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely something we want to continue. I love cooking food, and I especially love cooking food for people and sharing that food with people. And the best way to get that out was really by creating this YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
Because I can get my recipes out there of like the weird stuff that I like to make at home that everyone seems to like for some reason. That I make at home, and I'm like, well, maybe more people will like it, you know? And I mean, everyone can always make things their own way, but I feel like food is one of those things that can be really forgiving, so if you
Yeah.
mess it up a little bit, you can always add a little bit more salt or a little bit more
Yeah.
pepper or
Dip it
add
in
some
ketchup.
water. Yeah, you can like mix it up, add a pinch of this, add a pinch of that. And it's one of the things that can be modified to whatever your tastes or your allergies or whatever the case is there. I mean, I know you mentioned my husband like runs that channel. He was actually pescatarian for a very long time when we first met. And all of my recipes I'd have to convert to something that was pescatarian for him because he didn't eat chicken, didn't eat beef, didn't eat pork. So I'd make something like pozole, which pozole is mainly it's made with pork. So I'd have to make that in a way that still got those flavors in there, but adapted to pescatarianism. Or I would make birria, like birria tacos and stuff. And
Mhm.
I'd make that, but I'd make him birria with portobello mushrooms instead, so he could have mushroom tacos.
Nice.
I've since convinced him out of being pescatarian though, so he eats everything but beef now, which is great for me because I don't have to, modify everything as much.
That's
But
funny.
it's one of those things that I just wanted to share with people, and I created my brand, like the Side Loop Kitchen brand. Um, because we were on the Whole30 diet, and I was trying to make things like pozole and things like birria that were Whole30 compliant, and a lot of the recipes call for chicken bouillon. But when I was looking for a chicken bouillon that was Whole30 compliant, I could not find a single one. Like not even a super bougie, extra expensive one, because I was willing to pay whatever I had to pay to get to like make what I needed to make, and I couldn't find one. So I made a Whole30 paleo, keto compliant, Whole30 compliant chicken bouillon. And I'm like, you know what? If there are more people like me that want to enjoy this, then
Yeah.
like I want to sell it. Like I want to sell it and make it affordable and make sure that people like me can have this. And it's a diet compliant, it's allergy compliant. We've actually made it for like his sister and his parents a bunch of times, and it's good and authentic tasting. Because I also didn't want it to taste like something I wouldn't eat. And
Yeah.
I won't call myself a picky eater, but I am very selective about the things that I like to eat.
I mean, that's fair. I'm a very picky eater myself.
Right.
I like when I order hamburgers, it's bread, cheese, meat, bread. Like
Oh,
I'm
you're one of
very
those.
clear.
Okay, you're one of
I'm one of those.
those
Yeah.
guys.
I want a peanut butter jelly sandwich without the jelly.
Yeah,
Just peanut butter.
that's funny you say that because I'm a peanut butter and jelly type without the peanut butter. So,
It's like I guess we are opposites.
yeah.
That's hilarious. So what is your favorite meal? What like if you had
Ooh.
like what is like your favorite meal to cook, let's say?
Okay, my favorite meal to cook, I'd say is that's a really hard question. I really love to make cinnamon rolls. I love, and it's not a
Salmon
meal.
rolls?
Cinnamon rolls.
Oh, cinnamon roll. Oh, that's
Yes,
much
I
better.
love to make cinnamon. I know they're not a meal, but I love to make cinnamon rolls.
Uh,
And it's just because I learned to make them back in 2020 because I was craving a cinnamon roll. So I'm like, screw it. I'm going to learn to make cinnamon rolls. And
That's
I
awesome.
swear they taste better than Cinnabon cinnamon rolls. I swear. I will put my money behind it that they taste better
I,
than Cinnabon.
if you have a competition, I volunteer for judge.
Yeah, I wish I could send them to you and they'd stay fresh because I'll tell you, they are so good. And then I've started experimenting more with the cinnamon roll flavors. So I'm
Yeah.
making like Oreo cinnamon rolls and strawberry cinnamon rolls and strawberry cheesecake cinnamon rolls. I know. And so cinnamon rolls are one of my favorite things to make. Um, but to be honest with you, I mean, and this is such a bad thing to say, but my like go-to everything is top ramen. Like on the stove, just water and the noodle packet and let it go top ramen. It's there's no nutritional value in it. It's a comfort food, and I could live off of top ramen, and I would eat that all day if I could. I actually have probably 3 24 packs in my storage right now
That's
because I can't
hilarious.
live without it.
I'm that way with macaroni and cheese, Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Oh yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
have to consciously tell myself no every time I go to the pantry. Like
Yeah.
it's a legitimate problem. I work from
Yeah.
home. I go to make lunch. I have to look at it and like consciously say no. Like,
Well, and it's easy, right? It's super easy
oh,
to
it's
make it.
so
So like you can let the water boil, leave the stove and wait for it to boil. Throw the noodles in. Okay, I've got 5 minutes. So I got to do everything else. It's like very minimal supervision that you have to have over these things on the stove. So it makes it really easy to make them because
yeah.
it tastes good. You know what it's going to taste like every time, and it's minimal supervision. Like there's nothing getting around
That's the only things I'm good at are minimal supervision. And
that.
and toast doesn't qualify as minimal supervision for me.
No, toast requires a lot of supervision. If you have your
Yeah,
toaster set too high, it'll burn in an instant and you're done. You're done.
I can't tell you how many times I've ruined toast and I felt like the biggest loser on the planet. Like it's like I have to sit there and watch it.
Yeah.
And since now I stopped eating toast.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Toast can be hard.
I know, and it seems
Toast
like
can
it
be
would be
hard.
the easiest thing, but
Toast can be
nope.
really hard.
That's the big takeaway today from everything we talked about is
Watch
you
your
know
toast. Watch your
validation
toast.
that I'm not alone in my toast burning, and I appreciate it, Kay.
You know
You've
what? I have
inspired
burned my
me.
fair share of toast as well. I mean, probably just because I wasn't paying attention, but also because
Yeah.
sometimes I forget. I can't tell you also though how many times I've like come home late thinking I want some top ramen and I've left the water on the stove and the fire alarm goes off. It's not a great thing to admit, but it has happened more than twice. More than twice.
But less than 100, so it's okay.
Less than 100, less
Yeah.
than 20, even less
No,
than
all
20. I
right.
think it's a
I,
good
I was
accomplishment. Yeah.
I was giving you some space there. So, all right. So you said your favorite meal to cook. What is like your favorite restaurant other than the one you mentioned? Like the favorite normal
Ooh.
restaurant, like not fancy stuff. Like, and I'm not necessarily Olive Garden unless you love Olive Garden. But like I mean, I don't. For
Good
me,
restaurant. Yeah, what's your favorite restaurant? Let's start there, and then I'll let you know mine. So I know where
yeah,
we're what our
I
board.
have to be honest. An Outback Victoria's filet is classic anywhere. I mean, I enjoy that thing and the cheese fries. Like I can't go wrong with that universally. That's one of my favorites. But I also like the Chili's boneless buffalo bites.
Well, when they
Those are
have
good too.
unlimited boneless things, what are you gonna do? You know,
I
what are you
mean,
gonna
eat them all.
do? Yeah.
You know.
I think I'm temporarily obsessed right now with
Yeah.
beer cabeza fries. There's a place locally to me and they make cabeza fries. And if you're not familiar with what cabeza is, like
Nope.
it's like you can get cabeza tacos or like it's just a meat. It's like carne asada, but it's from the cheek of the cow instead. So it's really fatty and it's really tender. And if they're cooking it right, it tastes really good. And so instead of carne asada fries, you get cabeza fries. And those things are so good. I could eat those every day. I would like to eat them every day. I actually think I might have some cabeza tacos waiting for me after this.
Uh-oh.
But cabeza fries, without a doubt, are probably my biggest obsession right now. And anytime I can get really good pho, anytime I can get really, really
I don't
good.
even know what I mean. It just sounds like you stopped speaking.
So pho is a Vietnamese soup, and it's typically made from like boiling the bones and a bunch of like different aromatics in a pot of water, as well as meat sometimes for a long time. So it makes a really, really like good, complex flavored broth. And then you pour it over noodles and serve it with like meat or meatballs. And I'm simplifying this a little bit. This is a very high level overview of pho because it can get very complicated. But a really good beef pho is can be really hard to find, but when you find a good one, like you know you've got a really good one. And I recently found another local spot that sells a filet mignon pho, which surprisingly isn't very expensive. It's like $16 for a big bowl. And they give you these really tender pieces of filet mignon inside this giant bowl of pho. And I'm also like a soup. Um, I'm soup obsessed, like permanently obsessed with soup. So I will eat soup if it is 1,000 degrees outside. I don't care. It is my favorite food in the world. And so anywhere that I can find a really good pho is where I'm gonna lay my head.
Fair enough. I
Yeah.
mean, I had no idea what a pho was. And I was thinking to myself, like, this sounds complicated. And then you're like, well, it can get complicated. I'm like,
Yeah, you can
it
get,
already is.
you know, if you come to Vegas, when you come to Vegas to visit after I leave, after I move, my favorite pho spot is in Vegas. So we'll take, and it's 24 hours, so we'll take you there.
Oh, I can't wait. So
A
steaks and
couple
pho so far.
Yeah, a couple of people that we worked with, actually, I took them there for breakfast. They're like, "We've never had like pho or soup for breakfast," and I'm like, "Well, you're about to because it's happening. It's happening now. It's happening here." And they didn't have any complaints,
I
so
mean, why not, right?
why not?
So I want to go back to kind of both of these things you've been doing, these experiences. Over the time that you've had these jobs, which are pretty crazy. I mean, the weakest link was more of like a one-time thing, but the job with the well-known magician. What is it that that kind of helps you gravitate to a position where you have like experiences like that, where you're willing to trade some of the personal time? Because I feel that way too sometimes, especially when I was younger before kids. Like if I worked at a camp one summer and made almost nothing for the entire summer, but the experiences were things that lasted a lifetime. So
Right.
what is it that draws you to that?
Well, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Like when you were young,
Yeah.
before kids, I
Yeah.
think that kind of hits the nail on the head though. Like, you have to be young or have very minimal responsibilities outside of work because you have time to make those experiences, right? Like
Yeah.
you have time to do that and make those experiences and have those kinds of interactions and have time to actually like be able to care about that. So I think what it was being young and unattached and not really worrying about anybody other than myself. So, I mean, I worried about myself on a personal front, and that was all that I had for my personal life. And then I worried
Yeah.
about my boss. So, you have you and your boss, and that's it. And then if they happen to come together to bring you these amazing experiences where you have stories to tell, like, don't say no to any of those experiences. Don't say no to any of those opportunities. I think
Yeah.
I've gotten a lot of the opportunities that I've had in life, especially those ones, by not saying no to the opportunity. Because if you want to be able to experience as much as you can, you have to be able to say yes to those things. But as
Yeah.
you get older and as you grow your responsibility and grow the things that you have to care about in your home, whether that's a spouse or kids or animals or whatever it is, you kind of tend to gravitate away from wanting that because you're also worried about all these other things that you have to worry about at home. But when
Yeah.
you don't have really any of that to worry about, you're just like, yeah, let's go get hooked up with Leo and see how that goes. you know?
Let's roll the dice with Leo today.
Yep, let's roll the dice on Leo and see how that goes. But I really think that's what it was. It was really me wanting to have these experiences in life and have these experiences of things that I could then have memories of and tell people about because they're interesting.
Yeah.
It's an interesting conversation starter. It's really interesting to tell people about the things that you've done, and it's also really interesting to have those experiences for yourself. I mean, one of the best times that I had in that job was actually because we went to Hawaii on one of his family vacations. And we had a private tour where we swam with dolphins in the middle of the ocean all day. And it wasn't like, if you go to Hawaii and you go on a dolphin tour where you swim with dolphins, you're on the tour boat waiting for people. But
Right.
when we're doing things that rich people do, we're on our own boat and we're following the dolphins so we can get ahead of them. And we got to spend the entire day in the ocean swimming with dolphins, getting a different experience that nobody else got because there were three of us in the water at any given point,
Right.
as opposed to 23 people in the water at any given point. And we were
Right.
just having this like one-on-one experience. And that was probably one of the most, of all things in that job that I probably liked the most. That was my biggest takeaway in an experience because I've never experienced anything like that in my life. And I don't know that me as a person, unless I had that kind of money, that I would actually pay for to do a private experience that way again.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it takes a whole different level of money to be able to even allow yourself the freedom to go do things that cost, 75,000, $80,000 in a day, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's a
Yeah.
whole different level. I
Yeah.
mean, there's no like I look at people like I'd drive my same car if I had, but
Right. Yeah.
but at some point you're like, why? Like I have enough, get a new car,
Well,
you
that and
know.
I'm like, I don't know if I want to blow like 7,500 on like a 6-hour excursion to swim with dolphins.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never gonna see those dolphins again. They're not gonna remember me next time I'm here. Like I don't. They're not coming home with me. They
Yeah.
might not even like come up to say hello. So
They won't even wave.
they won't even wave. They don't care about me. They're just swimming by.
Yeah, but it is, and I think you're right. It's the experiences that you can't, you have looking back on life now that I'm a little bit older, actually now that I'm old, uh looking back, you can actually see that there's a very short window of time to really experience things and do it in a safe way. You can be really start experiencing things too young, and that can absolutely backfire. But there's a window when you can get out there and, like you said, seize those opportunities when things pop up, and like, yeah, sure, I'll be on the weakest link. I'll respond to this random DM just in case.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty awesome. And I've tried to do that too. I started a comedy club just for the same reason. I was in a position where they're like, "Hey, you want to start one?" Well, sure. I know absolutely nothing
May
about
as
it, but let's
well. Yeah.
let's let's go ahead and try this thing out.
Yeah.
So, but what is interesting though with UK is that you've continued to kind of evolve and try different things and experience things. Because I've worked with you professionally for what I think a couple
Almost
years.
3. Almost 3. Yeah.
And I swear you've held like 4 or 5 different positions in that time, and I've had the same position all that whole time.
Great.
And
Yeah.
so it's interesting to watch how you evolve and stuff. And I'm interested to see, where do you want to evolve? Like, where do you want to kind of end up with like your career and stuff? Where do you want to take it? Because you're into so many different things.
And I think that's a really good question because I think I'm still trying to figure that out for myself too. I
Yeah.
think I'm still in that process of trying to figure out where I actually want to be. I mean, I know that I love cooking for people. I know that I love, making people kits like the kits that I make for Side Boob Kitchen, that help people on their health journeys or allergy journeys while also being able to keep life, delicious and flavorful. So I'd love to do something there, but I also think that I want to keep, my options open in terms of like whatever comes my way. I mean, just
Yeah.
because I'm not young anymore or younger anymore and
Oh,
can
you're
say
young.
yes, yeah, well, and can say yes to like all the experiences, like working
Yeah.
for a celebrity that way again or anything. I think that I always still try to keep myself open to saying yes to experiences and anything
Yeah.
that comes my way that's still going to benefit me that I can also see benefiting my family. Because with that comes extra experience, extra stories, extra interesting things that you have to say about the life that you've lived. So I think no matter where you are in life and no matter where your responsibilities lie, there's still an opportunity to say yes to the experiences that come your
Yeah.
way. So for me, where I found that right now is game shows, because I'm like, well, it's not going to hurt my life to go on a game show. It's
Yeah,
not.
it's a
it
day.
affects it
It's a
affects
week.
2 days. Yeah, it affects 1 to 2 days out of my life to go on a game show. And I think that that's kind of where I'd like my life to go. And as I transition into new things, I still think about the way that that affects my life, but I also think about the experience that it can give me,
Yeah.
and whether that's personal, professional, whether it's with my friends, with coworkers, with what it can lead to. I even think so far ahead to like, well, what can this lead to? What could I make
Exactly. Yeah.
out of this? Yeah. And I think it's really important to keep that. So I can't say that I know exactly where I want my life to go from here or what I want these experiences to turn into. But I just really like the path that it's put me on so far,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to learning different industries and seeing how things work behind the scenes and meeting different people and seeing where other people come from and hearing their stories and learning their backgrounds and what they're passionate about. And maybe creating inspiration for myself within that.
Right.
I mean, maybe I'll never grow up and maybe I'll just keep chasing experience, but like I don't think there's anything wrong with that if
The,
I'm in the place to do it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not. And I think that's, as a wise man said, if you love the journey, you'll always have fun finding your destination.
Right.
And I don't know if they said that, but that sums it up,
But
I
it
think.
sounds like something a wise man would
Yeah.
say.
But it's, if you enjoy, because that's kind of where I am too. I don't know what ultimately what I want to do when I grow up, but
Yeah.
I'm going to do different things until I get there. Try this AI thing, try this whole crypto thing, you
Yeah.
know, try new things. And it's cool that it's always just going to be an evolution as long as you're continuing to grow.
And I think
And I think that's cool.
and I think another important thing to realize is that, every stage of that goes through like hard times or goes through a
Yeah.
rough time, or you can go through a rough patch in it. But like it always has and always will work out some way in the end. It might not be in the way that you think it's going to work out. And I know that
Yeah.
sounds like some like, therapist type talk right there, but it's true. I mean, you only get this far by things working out or not working out. But if you think about it, everything's kind of worked out to get you here. And
Yeah.
so it's really just about taking that journey and figuring out where you're supposed to go next. I mean, everybody has their doubts and their fears and, you know, their view of like things are really crappy right now, or things aren't going the way I expected, or whatever.
Yeah.
But it really does work out to get to a place eventually that where you're still going to be okay with it at some point or another. But that's part of the journey, and that's how you get to get to those experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, after leaving Magic Man, I mean, it wasn't the greatest experience of my life, but things have worked out so far to get me here. I mean, I met you, right? I started, my channel, and I'm moving on to other things where in
Yeah.
the middle of that, I thought things weren't going to work out. So I think you just have to keep your wits about you and just know that even the crappy experiences are part of the experience, unfortunately, and there's just no way of getting
Yeah.
around it.
I mean, I think you're right. Well said. Yeah. I forget. I was watching Survivor today, and there was a quote on it. The coach said it season 20 or something. I don't know. He said, "Through your greatest adversity comes your greatest successes." Uh, and
Yeah.
that's it's always good to keep that in mind. Like, you may be going through it, but you won't be. You'll
Yeah, but
get out.
eventually you won't be. Yeah, you'll
Yeah.
get out of it. I mean, and not to get too serious on here, but like, I mean, I went through a phase of my life where I was living out of my car. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, this isn't gonna end well. Like this.
Yeah. This
How do we
isn't going well.
this isn't going well. How do we get out of this situation? But you like climb your way out of the situation, and then eventually I got a Disney pass. So, I mean, I was winning at that point once I got the Disney passes. So
I mean, from the bottom to the top.
yeah, exactly. Started from the bottom. Now I'm at Disney. So,
Yeah. I mean,
it,
there's
it is one of those things you just have to kind of go through it and let
yeah.
it take its course, and just know that at some point or another it's gonna cut you're gonna come out on top. And so in terms of the journey, like I said, I don't really know where I'm going from here, and I don't really know where I want the journey to go from here, but I'm certain that I'll figure it out at some point or not, and I'll leave the plane unknowing of what's actually happening. But at least
That's awesome.
I had a good time on the way.
I had a good time. There's a
I had
lot
a
of
good time on
pictures
the
on
way.
Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun. All right. So Kay, I do want to give people a chance. Tell people, how to find you right now, and your store. I've had someone was asking about an apron in chat.
Yeah. Yeah. So I am on Instagram on at Side Boob Kitchen, and it's SIDEVOOB Kitchen. I don't know if I need to spell kitchen, but also on YouTube at Side Boob Kitchen. We are taking a quick break at the end of our season 1 right now as we relocate to our new space and come in with season 2 of Side Boob Kitchen. On our Etsy, we're also at Side Boob Kitchen, and you can get aprons there. We do have our aprons for sale on Etsy. And then I also have my own website that's Side Boob Kitchen. And there you can actually buy kits to make your own pozole at home, to make your own pho at home. It's just chicken for now. I'm still formulating our beef bouillon to be Whole30 paleo, keto, and gluten-free. So you can only get the chicken one on there for now. And then you can get our chicken bouillon on our website, which is sideboobkitchen.com. And that chicken bouillon, again, is Whole30 paleo, keto, and gluten-free. And then my personal Instagram, if you care to follow me and my antics, is the letter P, KAYE 393. I'm not very interesting. I don't post very often, but if you are interested, that's where I'm at.
I disagree. You are very interesting. Now, your posting, you may be accurate there. I have no idea.
I don't post a lot. Yeah, the posting's not very fun. It's usually just like 5:30 a.m. pics of the front of the gym while I'm walking in, and that's all you get from
Right.
me on Instagram.
That inspiration. Here you go.
I'm
I
like,
have
hey,
to.
what are you doing at 5:30 a.m.? Because I'm at the gym,
Yeah, when I drive by the gym on my way to get biscuits, sometimes I'll stop and take pictures from different angles,
just
and then I
cause.
just load them for the next week.
Yeah, there you go. Why not?
Yeah, I never go inside. I don't even know what gym it is. Um, well, Kay, I really do appreciate you sitting down and chatting with me for a little while, and I mean, just the fact that you had that experience to work with the magician, and I mean, it just sounds insane, and I appreciate you sharing it with me. And good luck on the new potential game show.
Thank
And
you. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how we do. If anybody sees me on Game Show Network, let me know because that's where it's airing, and I don't watch Game Show Network. So you let me know if you see me on Game Show Network, and then I can be able to talk about it.
fair enough. And if you make it on Family Feud, you got to reach out because that's the one show that I would. Well, that and Survivor, I would
Oh
love to
yeah,
be on
100%.
Family Feud.
If I make it on Family Feud, I will. And if I happen to get casted for Alone, and we can do a tandem, I'm bringing you with me. I have the feeling you have better survival skills than me, so I'll enlist you to
I
bring.
got. I feel like I would do really well in the first 24 hours,
I
and
feel
then when
like
I
you
start
can
to
build
get
the
hungry,
shelter while I fish. Like we can do
yeah.
that. I'll
If you
hunt
kept
and
me
you build
fed,
the.
I'd be good.
There we go. There we
If
go.
I got angry, who knows what happens.
I mean, if we're both hangry though, like there's no helping us because I'm useless when I'm hangry. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, my family they call me the bear when I get hungry. They're like, "Uh-oh, the bear's out." Get him a Snickers.
That's amazing.
Well, Kay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for tuning in. Everybody in the chat, Darkest Night, Virus, After Sound, Stock Jockey, Alex, thank you. You all have a good night. And we will see you next time on Temporarily
Bye.
Obsessed.